Welcome to VCarve Pro training on using tools from the Offset and Layout tool group. First of all, we'd like to review the three types of tools we're going to take a look at, and we'll start with going to the VCarve Pro User's Manual. You can find that on the internet, and we're going to scroll that down to the Offset and Layout tool group. And these are the three areas we're going to be looking at: the linear array copy. This is, for example, we're going to be looking at copying different rectangular shaped objects and seeing some of the options that we have available. We're going to be looking at what symmetry is, and we're looking whereas group copies is often something you're going to want to click depending on what type of project you're doing. It makes it easier to separate for toolpathing. And one thing get used to using is Control Z. This allows you to check some different gaps, check some different X and Y values, and if they don't fit, Control Z and start anew. Okay, and these are just some things to take a look at before you get into working with this tool. Go back one and take a look at the circular array. This is great for making clock projects and other things where you need to have a circular array. Could be also on different plaques, seals. And again, you have that option for grouping copies after you make them. And again, these are some of the instructions, some of the opportunities. It just doesn't have to be circles. And then we're going to go over to copy object along vectors. Could be text converted to curves, could be a shape, could just be a line. Some different options that you have there. So first of all, let's get in here to something I've already started for us to play with, and we're going to look at array copy. Now this little object that I've created here could be the side for a small wall cabinet that might be over a toilet or small area there, and gives you your size. We're going to want 6 rows, 2 columns, and I've already decided on the gap right here, some gaps and some offsets here, and I'm just going to click here for my copy, and there you go. That's the easiest can be, but there's only one problem. These we want to have as mirror images, because this is going to be for a rabbit for a backing, and if you turn them around you can see that's not that will not work. They won't line up. So you want to create a mirror copy of each one of these. So I'm going to go up here where it says symmetry. First of all, I'm going to hit Control Z to get back to the beginning and select my object here. I'm going to go over here my symmetry, and I'm going to create a mirror copy there, and then I'm going to click copy. Oh, that did great. Okay, so I see my copy here, but nothing here. That's because this is the first column, this is the second column, then it's going to revert back here for the first, for the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and so on. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to correct that. Control Z to start again. Select this, and I'm going to copy, and right there we have perfect mirror images of all that, and that for when, especially with cabinet making or doing a project where you have two sides to a cabinet or to a piece of furniture that you want a mirror image, this would be the way to do it. And there's some different options we can also look at. Control Z. Let's say we wanted to displace these by 1.5 inches. And we're going to leave the Y like it is, and I'm going to click copy, and there we got displacement. If I go Control Z and I put a 1.5 here, get in there 1.5, and copy, you see it goes all over the place because I did not get rid of my Z. I did not reset everything. Now I'm going to try it again, and there we go. Okay, that looks a little bit better. Okay, you can see the different options that we have here. I'm going to Control Z again, get back to the beginning. I'm going to put my Displacement back to 0 on those. Normally you probably are not going to have that. And then I'm going to, we're going to play around with some of the different shapes right here and take a look at that. And you see how they're facing in. And we could turn that around like this. Control Z. Still have this selected here, copy. And you can see some of the different options that you have by playing with the symmetry on this. Okay, so now that we're done with that particular one, up here you see here I've done a gap. That could be an offset. It shows you right here, offset from the one corner to the other right there. Gaps are usually, especially for laying out cabinet parts and things, are usually preferred. Okay, so I'm going to close this one, and then I'm going to go into my circle right here. And I want to start with by creating a circle. Now notice here at the top I've got toggle geometry snapping on and off, and smart snapping on. And with that I can click draw a circle, and I want the diameter to be 1 inch. And I'm going to go over here. Now watch as I hover on this circle. When it gets to the halfway point, which is Y8, lo and behold, that will snap to right there. And that's exactly what I wanted. Okay, so if I go into my copy along vectors, I'm going to be right at the direct location here. Oops, close, copy, do a circular copy, got ahead of myself, excuse me. Okay, so now that shows me my location is at Y is at 8, X is 11.7, and let's say I'm in a hurry. Okay, I want to do like a clock here. I want 12 items, 1 through 12 for the hours, and I'm going to click here, copy. Oh, nothing happened. Well, something did happen. Everything got, all those circles got put right on top of each other. So I'm going to put Control Z because I want my rotation center to be the center of this circle right here. Now to double check to see where that center is, I'm going to go over here to Move Selected Object, click on that. I have my anchor in the center, and it tells me that the X is at 16. I already know my Y is at the 18 right here. So that's fine. So I'm going to click back in here, go to my circular copy, and I want my rotation X to be 16, and I want 12 items, and I click, and perfect as can be. They're right there around the clock face, and I'm going to have a separate tutorial on creating a 3D faced clock, and we'll be using this technique. Now here it'd be a good idea, Control Z to start again. I'm going to click Group Copies, and then I'm going to copy right there, and then I'm going to save those in this other tutorial to a specific layer, because I'm going to put the numbers 1 through 12 right in the center so that they align perfectly, and then I'm going to want to erase all those circles. So I'm going to close this, and notice the color changes when you have them grouped. Okay, now we're going to go to our third layout right here that I mistakenly got in here at the beginning, and I'm just going to move this right onto that line right there, and I want to copy that object, okay, along these vectors. So it says select object to copy followed by one or more vectors to create copies along. So I'm going to hit the shift key, click here first, and then click the shift key, put that on there, and I want distance of just 0.7 inches. I'm going to see how that's going to look, and I'm going to create copies on a new layer, which will make that easy to toolpath when I get around to it. I'm going to click copy, and there we have it. I'm going to Control Z, and if I make this to 1.5 and copy, it shows you the difference. So there's lots of things you can experiment with. On this vector, if I click on this one, and instead of copying an object, I'm just going to copy circles, diameter 1/2 inch, distance between copies, and I'm going to force even spacing, and then I'm going to create copies. Okay, Control Z. Okay, now notice how it draws those circles from left to right. If I click reverse direction, Control Z to start from the beginning, and copy, you can see it goes from right to left. Okay, so notice that when it created those, it created a new layer. Turn that off, there's that layer. Turn this off, and there are my stars. And so that gives you a little bit of an idea of all those three different toolpaths. So let's get back to the cabinet project I talked to you about. And we're going to talk about a new feature in VCarve Pro 9 called creating an array copy toolpath. So I've selected this wall cabinet side that I've brought in. I'm going to select all my toolpaths, and all the names are here: shelf drilling, shelf dado, back rabbet, and wall 30 cutout. And I want 4 rows and 3 columns. Gap, I've already figured that out by doing a number of different trial runs. And then I'm going to calculate. I'm going to preview all toolpaths. Okay, and there we go. Now if we look over here though into the 2D view, notice we still only have that original piece that we have in there. So I have not been doing a copy array on this particular piece. All I've done is I've done an array toolpath, which is very nice to do when you bring in a part and then all the toolpaths are there already. All you have to do is create the array, and you don't have to individually recalculate all those toolpaths and select the vectors. Everything is done for you. Okay. If I want to get rid of this, all I have to do is right click, hit delete this, and I want to keep the original toolpaths, and we are still ready to go. Another item on this is getting back over here, and I'm going to do calculate, and so reset preview, preview all toolpaths again, get that up there. Everything looks good. Now we'd like to save some of those toolpaths. Now these tools all happen to have the same bit, so this is not going to be a problem for this particular project. Now we could, if we wanted to, if these bottom 2 bits were a different type of bit, we could take those out and we could only save those 2 right there, and then take this over here and then click these bottom and save those as well. Now the default post processor for ShotBot is TC for tool changer. So even if I selected all these and they were using 2 or 3 different bits, when it got to the other bit, then it would ask for me to make a tool change. So these particular ones are going to be do all the shelf pin drilling first, then the dado, then back rabbet, then all the wall cabinets cut out. So I'm going to leave this as it is. This will not be a problem. But I'm going to go over here now to that same cabinet, and this time we're going to use a little bit different technique. We're going to select that. We're going to go into our array copy. Unfortunately, I have everything at separate layers, so I'll show you how easy it is to do the toolpathing. And I'm going to go ahead, select this, but this time, there we go. This time I want to make sure that I have a mirrored image, and I want all those to be mirrored because I want them. These are two sides of a wall cabinet, so it's important that they're mirrored. And I'm going to click copy. I don't want group. Okay, and notice it copies a mirrored copy all the way across. So now I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to take off my light bulbs right there. And so all I have right now is a wall cabinet cutout. So I'm going to go over here, double click on my wall cabinet cutout. Notice that right now only one thing is selected. So I'm going to select everything, and now I'm going to calculate. Now notice that since the tabs were already in place for this first piece, all those tabs appeared once I selected everything. So I don't have to go to each individual piece and put in tabs. Okay, so we're good there. So I'm going to close this, and then I'm going to turn off the light bulb here, and I'll turn off this so we have a blank slate. Then I'm going to click on my shelf pin holes. There we go. And I'm going to double click on my shelf pin drilling holes right here. Select all of them, make sure they're all selected, and calculate. Then I'm going to go over here, turn that light bulb off, turn that layer off, go to my wall cabinet shelves, go back into my 2D view, and I'm going to click off this box so I have just the shelf dado areas. I'm going to open that up. I got to reselect now. Sorry about that. And I'm going to calculate. Those are all done. Close that. And then my last piece I'm going to go to is my wall cabinet rabbit back there. And double click on my back rabbit right there. Select everything. Calculate. And now I'm going to go over here and close this, and then I'm going to preview all toolpaths and see what we have. And everything came out perfect. So if you have something that you want to create a mirrored copy of, you're going to be better off going with this tool, the array copy tool, and then making sure that you have got everything on a separate layer so you can select these toolpaths much easier than if you have them all at the same layer. It might be okay just for one piece, but that's the one good reason for separating things out, especially if you're going to be doing multiple copies. Separate these out into individual layers so that it makes it much easier to, when you do an array copy, you're able to select them and do the operation that you want. Well, one more thing that we want to take a look at, and if any of you are football fans and you've watched Oklahoma State, they have a whole group of fans that have these paddles that they beat on the side of these padded paths along the bleachers to make noise. And so my principal wanted me to make some for our high school football team and to drill them out, and so this is a perfect example for doing a copy array. But notice, just on this one side, this has been flipped. And the reason for this, the method for my madness, is that this gives me a nice place to put hold down screws right here, and then of course then we have some right here in the middle. But it gave me a good place to put some screws rather than having very little place to put a screw there. So let's go over to here. Go over to one individual paddle, and we're going to select that. I'm going to go into copy array right here. We're in the array copy tool right now, and we're going to set the X gap at 0.4 and the Y at 1. I've checked it out. It's just going to be we're going to just duplicate this paddle, and we're going to go ahead and copy. We don't want to group those copies. There we go. Everything fits perfectly. I'm going to close this. I'm going to click any place in the space there, deselect, and then I'm going to select, hold the shift key down, select my other paddle right here. I got these two paddles selected, or I could do one at a time. I'm going to go into to my mirror, tool and click flip horizontal. Both of those are flipped. Perfect, exactly what I want. And so now I'm going to go ahead and go into my layers, and I'm going to select my G's there. I'm going to go ahead and double click on the toolpath I have. Notice only one is selected now. I'm going to select them all. I'm going to calculate. We're going down to 1/2 inch and preview selected toolpath. That's looking good. Preview the pocketing toolpath. That looks good. So now I'm going to go back to my 2D, take off the G, go into my holes next. And because there's so many, this will take a while. And again, I need to remember to select after I open my pocketing there. And notice there we're going, it's calculating. It'll get back there. It's going to tell me that it wants to drill through the materials, exactly what we want it to do. And it's going to take its sweet time about that. Coming up here should be very shortly. It's going to ask me about now, I would think. And then that is going to be the longest of the toolpaths. Yes, we're going to click OK. Okay, we're ready with that one. Preview selected toolpath. We're good on that. And then our last one we're going to click on is our paddle outline right there. I'm going to click profile for our outline right there. Notice we've got the tabs on that first paddle, and as soon as we select everything, all the tabs show up on the other ones. And we're going to calculate that. Yes, we want to cut through the material. And then I'm going to preview selected toolpath. And everything cuts out perfectly. And so there we have it. I just need to save those toolpaths and we're ready to go. But you can see how powerful these three tools are. This array copy, circular copy, and copy along vectors. Tutorial is going to be coming up how you can create your own clock with 3D face using the circle array. Thank you very much.